Okay.
Okay.
Okay. This is Emil Stuckey, my grandfather. So I know you just got back from a trip with Grandma to Tennessee. How was that?
That was excellent, thank you. Tennessee and North Carolina.
How long have you and Grandma been married?
Be 54 years in a couple of months.
Very good. Where did you grow up as a child?
My first 13 years of my life were in north of Winnipeg, Manitoba. It was a farming community on the prairies in Canada.
What did your parents do for a living?
My parents were farmers, as well as my father at that point worked for the Hudson's Bay Company. And then when we moved to Cleveland in 1952, my father went into the meat cutting business, which he was doing in Canada, and he stayed with that career until he retired. And my mother went from being a homemaker when the kids were gone. She worked with my father as in the meat room, also wrapping and packaging meats.
Oh, okay. When did you drop out of school and why?
I dropped out. I was dropped out in 1956. I was asked to leave the high school, and I could have gone to any other high school, but I chose not to at that point.
When did you join the military and what was your role?
I was being drafted. The Berlin crisis in 1961 caused a heavy draft in our country, and I was being drafted, and I did some research on the fact that if I would be going in the military for 2 years, I'd be going automatically into the infantry. I didn't want that. And so one day I was driving on down Lorraine Avenue, Cleveland's west side, and at a fire station I saw a sandwich board advertising the United States Army recruiter. I stopped in and met a gentleman, Sergeant Harry Beaver, and we talked at great length, and we looked through a catalog, and he said that I could become a military policeman, and that caught my eye. He would guarantee the school, but wouldn't guarantee the graduation, which was a good deal. But I'd have to take an extra year and become a regular Army trooper versus a draftee. Came home and talked to Mom at that time. We were just married a couple of years, and thought this would be a great idea to put my mind into a career versus not doing a whole lot.
When did you leave the military and why?
I left the military after 3 years of service with a honorable discharge. I had served through many parts of the United States. I was stationed in the Panama Canal Zone as a military policeman, but worked out of there. Had did a lot of traveling as a policeman, and they offered me a promotion if I would stay, and I was going to stay, by the way. The papers were all set for me to sign, and your mom was born. And the executive officer, Lieutenant Warren, he came by my post and recognized the fact that Marge, your grandma, gave birth, and he said, I would like to go home and visit. I said, well, that'd be great. He said, we'd have to escort a prisoner to Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. It was a homicide suspect, and for mental evaluation. And another military policeman from the Pacific side, from the 534th, his wife just gave birth, so we hooked up to this prisoner from the stockade at Fort Clayton and brought him to the United States Army Hospital in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania for mental evaluation prior to him going back to returning to his post so he could be tried. And came home, and there was your mom. I still have the picture we do of me holding this precious little thing. She wasn't a foot tall, I don't think. And at that point, the decision was made that I wasn't going to be staying in the military, as was the intent was to stay as a career, that come out and take my shot as a civilian. And it was that was the turning point in much of my life at that point.
What did you do next career-wise?
Well, while in the military, I didn't think I was going to stay in police work, in law enforcement. And let me just mention to you something about the growth of an individual in the military. Prior to going in the military, first year of marriage, I had 11 jobs. I just had a bad attitude on a lot of things. And my wife stuck with me. She was the breadwinner for all practical purposes. And entered the military, and it was just several short months after that that I went in from scraping bugs and cleaning windshields in cars and working in gas stations, that I was a military policeman in the United States Army. And this was a turning point in my life for sure.
Yeah.
And it gave me a strength of self-being, and also the self-confidence factor that the military police provided me was priceless. And that carried, beginning that with my faith, and my wife, her love for me carried me forward.
That's very nice. What do you think your mother's greatest achievement was?
My mother's and my father's greatest achievement, I'll have to put them into one question. They packed up their family. They sold the farm. My father built a two-wheel trailer, and he quit his job in Cleveland, in Winnipeg, and they packed up all that they owned that they couldn't sell off into a two-wheel trailer, hooked it up for their 1948 Monarch that my dad had, and on my 13th birthday, December 17th, 1951, we left Manitoba, Canada, and myself and my two sisters were in a back seat freezing because the heater didn't work in the back seat. It was miserably cold up there in the prairies, wrapped in blankets, and we'd already pre-set from a visit in June of 51 to come and stay with an uncle and aunt until my father could get a job and buy a house. And that took courage. It took a lot of courage to just pack up and go, especially in 1951. The Korean War was in play. The country is in a deep recession, post-World War II recession. And for my mom and dad to do that, I will never forget the courage that they had to bring us to the United States, which changed all our lives drastically.
Yeah.
And for the good.
What was your biggest dream growing up?
I wasn't a dreamer. I just wasn't a dreamer. I had ambitions, I had thoughts, but as for having a dream and a lot of goals, I just didn't. I think survival was probably my forte at the time.
Well, I think that's interesting that you've come this far without a dream.
Well, not without a dream, with just a lot of dreams. I didn't have a dream to be an astronaut, I didn't have a dream to be a pilot. I just had a dream of surviving and living well with my wife, your grandma.
What mistakes do you feel that you made, or what do you wish you could have done differently?
We don't have enough time for mistakes.
Okay.
A ton of them. Misjudgments, a lot of them. Changes. I don't know if I'd make any real changes, because I'd be afraid that if I would make any to say I would make a lot of changes. I believe I made the changes as was necessary to move, as we kept moving forward in our lives, my life. As for, I'd be afraid that if I was to make a change, it would alter the clock of the future just enough that I wouldn't have what I have today. And I'm very pleased and comfortable with what I'm surrounded with today. And so therefore, as for changes, no, I'm not looking back with anything in my life with regret, other than misdeeds that were corrected.
What were some major obstacles that you faced?
A social obstacle was coming from a conservative farm atmosphere where everybody played fair. You let the guy up after you punched him, that type of thing. It was a play fair. Coming to live in the inner city of Cleveland, Ohio, where play fair was set aside for survival, street survival. I didn't live in Lodi or Spencer, which is a farming community. I was placed directly into the cauldron, you might say, of survival. That's what it was. That simple.
What advice would you give to someone about being successful?
Work hard. Success, luck is just a combination of hard work and work hard, have a faith, have someone alongside of you that who you can love and you can share, and surround yourself with positiveness, and remember that you are a product of your environment and who you associate with.
How would you define success?
I'll just have to repeat what I said earlier. It's just a lot of, it's hard work.
Yeah.
Winning the lottery is not success. Winning the lottery is, it could be a disaster in your life, and usually is, so that's not success. Success is, my wife and I will know, by the way, we were born on the same day, the same year, and I was born in Manitoba, Canada, and your grandma was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so there was destiny there at play. And the question is,
how would you define success?
Success is having someone with you who cares about you, who loves you, and success is, I keep saying it, it has nothing to do with anything, nothing to do with luck. It has to do with hard work, perseverance, and when you get smacked down, you get right back up. Don't quit. And you can use the sports analogy if you choose to, that how many times, even this past Sunday, we saw the Pittsburgh Steelers, not my favorite team, but the Pittsburgh Steelers come from behind, they didn't quit. You just don't quit.
Yeah.
Whether it's sports, whether it's business. I have a calling card in my office that I refer to that says, remember, Babe Ruth struck out 1,053 or 43 times. Had he just quit after the first time he struck out, he wouldn't be who he is remembered to be. He would be nobody. But Babe Ruth, every time he struck out, he came back to the plate and swung at the ball. And that, to me, is a winner. Regardless of what his background is, regardless of what his foibles may have been, he was not a quitter. And successful people are not quitters.
I like that a lot.
Thank you.
What has been your greatest achievement thus far?
Being married to your grandma for almost 54 years. That 54 years is a combination of, you name every emotion as you can think of. You name every goal that one would reach you can think of, or if you have the goals, every up, every down, and the hard work that it goes into 54 years of marriage. It doesn't come easy, and if there's a success, regardless of what my business success was, regardless of what my financial success was, the biggest success I have is my wife.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have we done?
Yes, we are.
Oh, good, because my arms are killing me.
Oh, where would you be if